again, great looking crowd. Not that, okay. So you will be taking 2 courses this fall. One is 541. It's called Systems and Software Standards and Requirements. My name is there, Sung James Choi, and office is in other building. This is engineering building. There's computer science building, the other big tower. And 4th floor, 427, phone number, email, jchoi@fulton.edu. And office hours are Monday, Wednesday, 3 to 4:30 p.m. So you can physically come to my office if you want to, right? If you want to somehow urge to see me, that can happen. But if you don't, I have a chat room that created during my office hours. So you can join the chat room, and probably it's better to make an prior arrangement when you want to talk to me. Then I have allocated time for you during the office hours. Then we can communicate through chat rooms. I'll show you how that works later on Titanium. Okay. So these are my office hours. You can come to campus to my office physically, or you can communicate through again chat room. So before I go into content of this course itself, I'd like to give you a little bit background, okay? Since you're a software engineer, so you know there's a few names that we call software gurus, engineering gurus, right? So Pressman is one of those, and the other one is Brooks. Some of you know him. He was a IBM OS 3.6 project manager, and also a professor at University of North Carolina. And so he was industry man, also in academics. So obviously he wrote papers, right? So a couple of important papers he wrote. One is called Mythical Man-Month. The other one is called No Silver Bullet Paper. So what he said is really interesting. It says that single hardest part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to build. So basically, what are the requirements is really important to find it out. And he said that no other part is more difficult to rectify later. So it's very hard to correct it once you have the requirements wrong, right? Moreover, he said that failure to understand and control the requirements is #1 cause for project failure. So a project will fail if you don't have clear requirements, excellent requirements. So why is the case? There have been 2 studies. One is said customer satisfaction. So in terms of quality, functionality, etc. So they studied 39 projects. And when the requirements are really clear, right, so whatever that means, they made surveys saying 33 out of 39, they felt a really good project. The customer was satisfied, right? So if the requirements are not clear, basically a lot of people felt that project itself failure. But a project was clear, the requirements clear, 33 of 39 projects, people said, basically it's a successful project. So that's really important, the customer is satisfied, so they can come back, right, later on. Oh, what happened here, the other one? Okay, the other one is cost, right? If when you produce something, to productivity and cost is really important. Right? So there has been a study basically showing the cost to correct a defect. So if you look at the cost to rectify a corrected problem defect during the requirements phase, that is finding out what the problem of that you need to solve, is normalized to 1. Then if you find during the specification phase, as you can see 2, this is still okay. It's part of the requirement specification. But if you find during design phase where you're trying to find solution, it's like cost goes to 6-fold. And during the implementation testing, once you write code, it jumps to 20-fold. And if you're trying to rectify the problem during the maintenance phase, obviously there's limitless, right? So some studies say 67, other studies say 200-fold, so very, very expensive. Now what this tells us basically is that the earlier you find the problem, correct it, less expensive. So this says that it's really important that we have really established a good requirement from the start. Okay? Some people call it systems analysis, some people call it requirements analysis, so it's really important to do well requirements. Okay? So in this course, having said that, in this course, basically there are two objectives. One is then how do you create an external requirement, right, that will satisfy your customer later on. Okay? So probably you heard the term called requirement engineering. There's software engineering, and there's also something called requirement engineering. So a requirement itself is becoming a basically engineering field. And so there, basically, if you do want to do good requirement engineering, there are 5 steps or 5 areas you have to be well. One is called elaboration, analysis, specification, verification. So we're going to talk about these 4 steps of developing good requirements. Okay? And once you have so-called baseline, after you talk to your customers, you have requirements established, requirements do change. Right? Even the product is not finished, your client will come to you saying, oh, by the way, whatever I said last week, that is not true. Like, can you change it? Right? So that will happen all the time. So then how do you manage these changes up to your requirements? Right? So that's part of requirement engineering. So in this course, mainly you want to talk about how to establish good requirements. Once you have a good baseline, then how do you make changes to the requirements, to the baseline, right? So these things we're going to talk about, they collectively called requirement engineering. And we have to document this process and also all the product that we want to create. And so there are certain form that you can create documents. You can use IEEE form or format, or you can use the ISO format. So we're going to talk about that, how you can specify the requirements, also using standard, IEEE standard to memorialize whatever you are doing here. So that's what we're going to do. So required textbook is Uyghurs. By the way, I made my website available. So if you go online, you should be able to now access my website, actually 541. So this particular orientation material is also, I uploaded it. You can look at that also. And there will be some other material that I'm going to use. Mostly, since it's a grad course, I expect you guys not to read one textbook, should be able to also other research materials, articles, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll be giving you some articles you need to read, and you need to describe those also. So there'll be other, again, papers that I'll be putting online and which you can download and read them. Okay. So how to get an A here? That's our purpose, our goal, right? To get an A. So there are 3 areas that you have to work. One is exam, obviously. The other is project and participation. So exam, there are 2 exams. One is midterm, one is final. Exam is 20%, and final is 30%. And so actually, if you go to, I just get out here a little bit. I didn't put it here. But if you go online, there is actually, I put it, and go here. So there is actually, I put a course calendar or schedule. All right, it's online available at this point. So it tells exactly what things you have to do in each week and what are due when. So you should follow exactly this schedule here, then you should be okay, right? So I have divided the whole thing in 5 modules. Module 1, module 2, 3, 4, 5. So module 1, each module about 3 weeks, right? And then you can see, for example, first week, starting next Monday, You need to getting ready and read chapter, etc. And then second week you read chapter, this chapter, and then you need to submit the, at some point you form a group. Since you're going to the group project, you need to submit the sign-up sheet, group sign-up sheet, and you read chapter 4 and 5. At some point you need to submit the so-called, I'll talk about more chapter summaries of you read. Okay, now some people say, oh, well, chapter summaries, is it like childish, right? So, but actually, since we're not going to see too much each other, if you don't say anything, we'll not see you. So one way you can do it is like that you read something and you submit by submitting chapter summaries. I can kind of see, okay, you are doing the work. For me, it's for you to read it, and for me also kind of check, see whether you are actually coming along with us. Okay, that's kind of checking, see how you're doing. And there's something called a forum that you need to submit your thoughts and ideas. So we're going to talk more. Anyway, so here's calendar. You should print this one out and leave to you next year bed maybe. You see every day, see whether you actually did it or not, and check off where you are, right? So that's the calendar. So let's go back to my presentation slides here. So midterm dates are already set. If you look at calendar, there's midterm date is already set, okay? And the final dates is also set. So you go follow the calendar when the midterm dates are, final dates are. If you have any problem, let me know in advance, hopefully. Not advance meaning something happened accidentally, so we don't want that to happen. So anyway, let me know. We'll try to do something, especially if you miss the final exam. It's because it's set really fixed time by the university, so it's hard to change. If you somehow miss the midterm, maybe you have to go to the hospital, or is there something happening, or you get married. So then, if you let me know, then if its reason is really reasonable, right? Then you will not do. There's no makeup exam, but you will basically the final will have increased weight. So if you miss midterm, the final is like 50% in your case, but most of them take midterm exam, so that should be okay. In the past, I saw one or two missing midterm. Most of them did. And also, we want to use a exam feature 1010. I'll talk more about that later on as we go along during the semester. Okay. Now, term project. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to write the requirements, excellent requirements, right? That's what we're going to do using IEEE format. So term project is 30%. Typical group size is 3, right? So that's what I recommend. But somehow if you have one more person or whatever, so try to find 3 first. And if you had reasons why you want to have that particular person in your group, or you don't want to have that group, so let me know, we can negotiate a little bit. But we don't want to go like 6, 7, 8, okay? Definitely not. But 3, 4, maybe 5 should be okay, because other classes require also group size. So if you kind of want to work together in the other project and you need a little bit more bigger group, we can talk about it. But usually have 3 people in one group. Okay, that would be a good size. Because of the work size is 3 is fine. If you do 5 people doing, that means you're not doing too much work. Okay, so 3 would be good. Again, we're gonna create the software requirements specification documents based on IEEE standards. And we'll talk about what that looks like later on, how to create all these things. We'll do requirement engineering later on. When you said there are always due dates, as I said, but if you miss the due dates, I'll accept, obviously, the late turn-ins. But there'll be deductions if you turn in late, like chapter summaries and etc. So the way I do is there will be 10% automatic deduction. So if something is due today, you cannot submit it to tomorrow, there will be automatic 10% deduction. And then each day you're late, or your group is late, then there will be 1% deduction. So for example, if you're 1 week late, then there will be 10 plus 6, 16% deduction, this maximum point you can get. So there will be deductions if you turn. You can turn in late, except the forms, but there will be deductions. Again, I mentioned lastly, third thing you have to do is called participation. Participation is 20%. That's the way we want to see how you are doing, the way for me to see whether you are doing the work, etc. So in this individual work, one is chapter summary, as I said. So once you read each chapter, you need to submit a chapter summary. Not each chapter, but there's submission date. You have to submit everything together. So what you do is, if assuming that you're in chapter 1, introduction, and paper that I'm going to distribute to you, so you're going to write 1 or 2 pages per chapter, okay? So that should have 2 parts. One is, what is concept of this? What is the important concept, the content of the particular chapter, okay? And then part number 2 is basically what to think about that. What is your thoughts? What are your experience on this particular content? So that's the important part. Otherwise, just being online class, everything goes electronic, or some person may just copy, cut and paste and submit it. So we don't want that to happen. So the one way I can kind of figure out is what are you thinking about this? So you have to give your own thoughts. That is a little bit more difficult to just cut and paste. So each chapter summary should have 2 parts. One is concept itself, and then second part is your ideas, your thoughts, your experience about that particular content. Okay, so I can read that part and see how you're doing there. Again, there will be, I accept your late turn-ins, but there will be deductions, right? Chapter summaries. The last 10%, which is the part of your participation, is discussion board. There will be discussion board for each module. So the module number 1, there will be discussion board. Module 2, so each module will have discussion board. So you need to submit your ideas, your thoughts to discussion board. What you thought about content, what your experiences are. Whatever I said, part of your experience is part number 2 of chapter summary. You can submit here. So other people can participate in your discussions. Right. Yes, sir.
What things considered late after midnight on the due date?
Due date is 11:59 p.m. typically. But if you're late by 2 minutes, I think it should be okay. Yeah. If you submit it by 12:01, I'm not going to be actually standing closing, exactly to midnight. This is it. No, I'm not going to do that. Typically, if you submit it by 6 o'clock in the morning, before, that should be okay. We're not going to be that exact. All right. So if you're a little bit late, that's fine. For me, anyway. So I don't know for other people, but usually we're okay. So what you have to do is you have to submit for each chapter. You need to submit about 2 meaningful posting per chapter. So you can create your own thread, or you can respond to existing ideas, and so what you thought about is a response. So what I do is I read those, and sometimes I comment those, okay? And if it is, everything seems to be okay, I'm not going to be too much into that, but if it is like way out of line kind of thing, you are not good, or some personal things coming on there, whatever you said is junk, all right? Those are not we should say, right? So then I said, stop it. You cannot do these things. So at some point I'll jump in, but mainly you're going to basically put something, your ideas in discussion board. So this is what I'm going to do. Again, each board has deadlines. Make sure that you submit. And the postings, there is no late turn-in. You have to submit postings before the deadline. Okay. So chapter summaries everything, yeah, but discussion board, you have to submit it when it's due or before it's due. Okay. Again, the grading policy is midterm 20%. And then class participation, chapter summary 10%, board discussion 10%, and final exam 30%, and term project 30%, 100%. Now, how do you get an A? Well, if I don't curve, I think many of us are not curving here. So if you get 90% above, you get at least A minus. What does that mean? So assuming that you have 90%, you get A minus, but it could be higher. Okay, so depending on, so they have a little flexibility there, so I see that generally it's kind of down a little bit, class average, and I can give actually 90% an A rather than A minus. So if you get 90% or around that, you get minimum A minus or higher. Okay. So also if you had like 89.9%, wow, too bad. I could round it up, make 90%, or what about an 89.4? Too bad, right? So at that point, I look at it also overall, trying to give you a higher grade. If there is a kind of way of giving you higher, I try to give you always higher grade than lower grade. Okay, so that's general guideline, 90% above A minus. But I'll be using plus and minus. We have plus and minus system, so I'll be using it. But if you have 90% above, at least A minus, and also 80% above, same way, B minus. 70, I don't think nobody will get 70% here. So, but anyway, so C minus, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't want to discuss the lower ones, right? There's no need for that one, all right? So as Dr. Choi also mentioned, in order to succeed, this is not that difficult course, okay? So, but if you want to get an A, and a lot of you will get an A, and so what you want to do is initially, today I made my website available, download course syllabus, okay, go through it, and obviously then look at the course calendars, okay? Look at specifically when are due, okay? The due dates are really important. So if you could not read, for example, chapter 1 next week, I mean, you should read it, but if you could not do it for some reason because of work, whatever you have to do, it's no big harm done. You can do it second week. But if something's due, if you don't submit those, then there'll be deductions, as you said, right? So look at all the submission dates. Those are milestones, if you will. If you don't submit those, then there'll be penalties, okay? So especially if you do group project, it's really important. So again, course calendar is really basically the stepping stones. So make sure you read those, understand those. If you have any question, let me know. And then best thing is putting it out and leave it to your work area so you can check it every day. Oh, did I do that? Did I do that? What day is today? So that's really important, right? And then you should read the chapters that I mentioned in the course calendar, and then turn in the assignments, again, the due dates, and you do a midterm exam and term projects and the final exam. So that's what you're basically follow the plan here, okay? So most important thing is, like Dr. Choi mentioned, you need to plan it, right? So, I mean, since most of you are working, if you cannot do some work in 1 week, you're too busy, you have to submit to company something, that's okay, right? As long as you plan it, if I cannot do it this week, when do you want to do it? The deadlines are really important ones. These are milestones. As long as you follow those, for me, okay. So again, the final notes are online classes are different, as I mentioned, as Dr. Choi mentioned here. So no face, et cetera, et cetera. So it requires sometimes patience. Sometimes systems goes down. System will go down. As a matter of fact, it's more difficult if your system goes down during the exam time. It happened once. All right, everybody gets panicky, right? Oh, I have to submit it today, but system is not. Don't worry about it, okay? So we're experienced enough that can happen. The fact we know that can happen, you let us know what happened, then we'll try to rectify it, okay? So there is always a way trying to, solve the problem. So don't worry about anything. Just if there's a problem, just let us know, we'll solve it. All right, so that's really important. And sometimes you need patience, okay? Sometimes system will go down, and then you want to submit something, it go down. That means you just wait a little bit. And if it goes beyond the due date, for example, 11:59, I want to submit it, system is down now, okay? So what do? Do I panic? No, all right? So basically let us know the system should, maybe you want to capture screen saying system is out. Then you contact me. I just want to submit yesterday my project 11:59 p.m., but system was down. Here's a screenshot of that. Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right. So we know that things can happen. Is it me? No. Okay. All right. So important thing is to make sure that you read again emails that we're going to send out, especially from the Titanium system email. So whenever it's due, we're going to remind you. And so if you have any question, you can send me an email. We'll usually respond within a few hours, usually. Okay. If you don't get it within 24 hours, then something the system may be wrong or something. So you should try to recontact us, but usually 24 hours. The weekends a little bit longer, but still, a lot of us are still checking our emails during weekends. Let's see if there's anything else. Going down here. Okay, so one thing I want to show is like, if you go titanium here today, okay, you should be able to log in. So again, you go to summer, spring here. 541, okay. So that's me when I was young. I'm not that young anymore. Do you know, does anyone know what could that be?
You go to summer, spring, not to fall.
Oh, this fall.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in fall, yeah. So that's actually in France. Okay, anyway. So I want to set to switch roles to student. So that's what you're going to see at this point, all right? So that's my picture here with Côte d'Azur area. So then I can welcome you. Then you can see all the material that we currently have, like what orientation material that I showed you. You same thing here. The course syllabus is here, calendar is here, and what you want to do is like chat tool here. Okay. So if you're not don't want to come here during office hours and you want to chat with me, then you can invoke chat tool here. So then if you click on it, then you will be connect with me. And then we can talk, all right, during chat, you can chat, right? So that's one tool you should know. And currently the module 1 is open, chapter 1 through 5, and week number 1, if you click on that, then you'll see the material you need to read and listen to. And then there's forum that you wanna, so it says a forum number 1, including chapter 1 to 5, this will close on 9:15, 11:59 p.m., so they will close it. And you just submit summaries, chapter summaries 1 through 5, all together at some point. The due dates are written somewhere, 9:15. Okay. Yes, sir.
If we're going to do a chapter summary, if you cut and paste, do you expect an acknowledgement in there also? Meaning,
Yeah, I'm going to grade those actually. I'm giving points. So if there is something that I see, just cut and paste. But usually, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, you're reading it, kind of okay. But what I look for is actually your experience part, second part, which is your ideas and thoughts. That's where your thoughts coming in. And if I see the same thing over and over and over, or 10 people have the same thoughts and ideas, something is going on here, right? So that's more important part for me. So content part, I mean, what else can you do? I mean, content is content, right? There's so many ways, different ways you can write it. So that's okay. Cut and paste, I don't write your own words, right? Whatever you learn. But thoughts and ideas, second part is more important for me. That's what I really read and see what you learn from this chapter and what are your experiences. It should be unique to your situation, right? So that's what I'm looking for. Hopefully I answer your question.
well, but if we cut and paste, do we have to put an acknowledgement of the book?
Oh, okay. Not really, no. Yeah, we're okay here. We're not publishing anything here, so we're I'm reading it, so should be okay. Unless you want to do it, yeah. Otherwise, I don't really care about those things. Yeah. Thank you for asking about that. Okay, so that's what I have at this point. So do you have any questions with respect to this class? Yes, sir.
When do the modules get released? Is there a specific day of the week?
Oh, yeah, so at this point, what I have is module 1, right? So module 1, basically chapter 1 through 5. If you look at the calendar, so basically 1, 2, 3, 5, we covered first 3 weeks, module 1. So when I make it available as we go along, I don't make available everything at once. Then basically it's too much and you kind of wonder what's going on. So at this point, next week, chapter 1 and all the, you read and all the syllabus and make sure that, some of you are coming back, you're kind of not familiar, titanium system. So spend a little bit of time on how it works. And we're getting more serious starting second week, which is chapter 2 and 3, and et cetera, et cetera. So as we go along, I'll make them available, not everything at once. It's too overwhelming at this point. Any other questions? No? Yeah?
What are the grade distributions on the class?
grade distributions about this class?
Yeah,
The past ones or?
the past ones.
Oh, I don't know. So should I show that to you or I'm not sure if I.
It's okay, you don't need everything. You don't have
So maybe you can ask personal questions later on, but generally, let me say this. So since we're trying to help you, we're not here to make your life really hard, right? So we want you to graduate, be millionaire, ever become billionaire like Bill Gates, right? So that's our goal here. So, and then we can come back to you later and say, oh, give me something, right? For our program or for college, not for me personally. So anyway, generally, I mean, as Dr. Joe said, if you do the work that is described, you should get an A. There's no reason for us to make your life difficult, no reason you should not get an A. For some reason, if you don't do the work that's prescribed here, as long as you follow that, it should be okay. All right? If you don't do that work, then obviously there's a problem. Just generally speaking, 70-80% will get an A or A minus. Okay, right? And I'm teaching this course, not this course, but MSE program since 2004 from the inception. Probably I have given one F. Okay, we have like 700-800 students so far. Why? Because he didn't do anything. So I have to give an F, right? I cannot give an A because he didn't do anything. And few C's, okay, but most of them are B or A, okay. So as long as you do the work, you shouldn't worry. Okay, if we see there is some problem, we'll contact you also. What's going on here, right? So I see you, especially if you don't do well exams, and so is there any problem, is there anything we can do? We'll try to be proactive and contact you and see how we can help. But family things do happen, and then let us know. Then if there is anything we can help you can probably take leave of absence this semester rather than getting an F, and you can come back later on and do better work. Okay, we're here to help. Okay, you remember, we're not here to make your life difficult. Here to help and graduate. As I said, you can become a billionaire. That's our goal. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, in case of the hardship, like we have to be out of the country for 1 or 2 weeks, so I miss the deadline.
Yeah, if you miss deadlines, it's a little bit more tough. Okay, but there'll be, again, you can submit it, there will be deductions. Hopefully you'll not be late every time, all the deadlines, right? If you miss once, I mean, if you're just missing a few points. So, but still we have to be fair to other people who are turning in on time, right? So there'll be some deductions. But if you just miss once or so, that should be okay. I mean, if you look, in my case, milestones every 3 weeks. So you should be able to handle your matters within 3 weeks, right? This week I'm very busy. Next week I have more time. As long as you meet, deadlines, it's fine. But if you have to miss that because you have to go someplace or you do some work, then sometimes people let me know I have like surgery tomorrow, if something's due, or my daughter is having a wedding, whatever. So can I submit it on Monday rather than, or internet connection is down where I am in hotel. Can I submit it Tuesday rather than Sunday? So fine. As long as you let me know what the problem is a reasonable problem, I'll try to accommodate that. Okay, so I have fight with my girlfriend. Okay, that's not a really good reason. Okay, so no, I'll not accept that one. Okay, but if you have an accident or whatever, you have to go travel someplace and there's no internet access, if you send them email, can I submit a little bit later? That's okay.
What about submitting early?
You need extra points for that? No, you can always submit earlier. The due date is by some date. So that means you can turn it always earlier. So for some reason, if you go someplace and you want to turn it earlier, that's good, very good. But late turnings, there will be some deductions. Okay? Any other questions?
Actually, I just want to follow up on
Yeah.
the early part. So,
Yeah.
like, if I have to go somewhere
Yeah.
for work that's, like on the other side of the world,
Yeah.
it's not great internet.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'll be able to, jump into the discussion portion. Can I, write up my...
Yeah, so again, as long as your reasons are okay, if you look at, again, I'm here wherever, Mount Everest, and then I'm trying to send you an email, but I cannot do it. the internet connection is really bad, then let me know and send me an email, in my case at least, and then whatever your thoughts are, this is what I wanted to send you, but I couldn't, then I'll accept it. Yeah, sure. Again, remember, we're here to help, okay? Not just grade it and, oh, okay, this guy got C minus, ha ha ha, very good. No, that's not our purpose. Okay, so remember that. We're here to help, all right? Thank you.